News Live at 10.
Good evening, I'm Justin Betty, and good news, you have made it through the work week, and for many of us, we were pretty lucky to only be grazed by that winter storm this week. So what does Mother Nature have in store for the weekend? Here's First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson with the details. Hutch.
Well, we have some improvement to talk about, but it's going to be another cold night tonight. Keep in mind you've seen crawling across the bottom of your screen another wind chill advisory for our area, and we have flakes also heading into the metro area at this time, creating another layer of slippery. You can see most of that activity pushing off into Minnesota, and where the darker blue shades are St. Cloud and Minneapolis, a little bit more robust with the snow showers there. For us, a few flurries icing up the roads and causing some slipperiness. A batch moving through Mayville as well along the Highway 200 corridor. Keep that in mind. It's reducing visibility to between 1 mile and 3 miles at times across our area here. So again, slippery conditions. Right now, those wind chills 20 to 30 below, and it's going to be another brutal overnight, just not as brutal as yesterday morning. So we're going in the right direction. Air temperatures in Fargo sneaking down into the teens below. Wind, though, will remain robust, 10 to 20 miles per hour, and that means these wind chills will be an issue. We'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast, so Justin, on a pretty nice warm-up as we close out the weekend. We do have some snow in the forecast, and we'll detail that too as we close the book here on February and head into meteorological spring.
That sounds pretty good.
Yes.
Thanks, Hutch. Well, this week's storm made driving dangerous in spots. Minnesota law enforcement leaders tell us most people played it safe, and they're thankful for that. State Patrol said as of midday today, over the course, remember, this is a 3-day storm, they saw about 380 crashes, 33 of those with injuries. Those are numbers much lower than they were expecting.
A lot less traffic out there, and less traffic means less spinouts, less crashes, fewer plows being hit by vehicles. All of those things really slow down our operation.
School is closing.
In the Twin Cities area, many parents also said the early closing announcements gave them plenty of time to plan. In Rochester, Minnesota, a woman has been killed after being hit by a snowplow Friday morning. Reports of this incident came in around 9 a.m. this morning. Jessica Bring has the story.
A Rochester woman believed to be walking around Pinewood Road Southeast was hit and killed by a snowplow just before 9 a.m. while the operator was working to clear side streets after this week's significant winter storm.
Right now we just believe she's walking or jogging, and we also have some witnesses we need to follow up with that witnessed the crash. So right now we're in the active investigation stages.
Investigators are trying to determine how this rare tragedy happened. Sergeant Troy Christensen says this is the first fatal pedestrian snowplow crash he's experienced in his 23 years in law enforcement.
So this is rare to have a pedestrian involved with the snowplow being killed, and unfortunately it's getting very hard for the family and also the community. So it's just important that we complete this investigation, figure out why and how it happened, and hopefully we can prevent this from happening again.
The crash site was blocked off from around 9 a.m. until nearly noon. And back at Minnesota State Patrol headquarters, Sergeant Christensen tells me that's in part due to the fact investigators were reconstructing the crime scene. He tells me it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months before investigators form a better picture of what actually happened.
They check a lot of the brakes and stuff on the snowplow, and they cannot move it until after they've done a lot of the inspections to make sure everything's operating properly, and then they'll move it and continue the investigation. But they also leave everything in place so the crash reconstructionist can have the actual evidence in place when he does the measuring and the drone flyover.
State Patrol says the husband of the victim was on scene with the department chaplains and has been notified. But Christensen says extended families still need to be informed, so the victim's name won't be released until that's complete.
It's a very terrible crash for the family and the whole city of Rochester. I'm sure she had a lot of family and friends, and it's just it's unfortunate this crash happened.
Reporting in Rochester, I'm Jessica Bringy.
The driver of the plow was not hurt during the incident, though State Patrol says the operator will go through drug and alcohol screening just as part of the investigation. They say they'll also be closely examining every part of snowplow safety going forward. We have some breaking news just in out of St. Paul. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office reports 3 people were shot at a funeral reception for Devin Scott. He was the victim of a stabbing at Harding High School just 2 weeks ago. Law enforcement there say it appears this was a drive-by shooting and that the suspect's vehicle crashed about a mile away, but no one is in custody yet. We'll keep you posted as we learn more. And some more breaking news. One person is dead after a small plane crashed into the St. Louis River near Duluth today. Happened just before 4 this afternoon after the plane's takeoff. St. Louis County sheriffs say it was only one person on board. That person was pronounced dead. The sheriff's office is maintaining that scene overnight until federal agencies can take over and start their investigation. We're also still gathering new details on a train derailment in Burlington, North Dakota this morning. Authorities say a handful of cars derailed about 20 minutes west of Minot. However, unlike that controversial derailment in Ohio earlier this month, in this case, nothing spilled.
We got here, found that 2 locomotives were off the track and several cars that we could see, so we started checking them as we went down. I think it's a total of like 16 containers or something like that.
No injuries were reported. Crews from Burlington Rural Fire and BNDF are still there working on the cleanup efforts. A Moorhead man has been arrested on drug charges after eluding police for nearly 3 years. 28-year-old Ju Hong, originally from South Korea, is accused of selling drugs locally that were shipped from California. The U.S. Postal Service flagged police way back in 2020 after a canine detected drugs in a package being delivered to him. Investigators say in all about 400 pounds of marijuana was shipped in more than 120 different packages to Moorhead. A Jamestown man has been arrested after police say he stole several credit cards and used them at local stores. One purchase totaled about $1,000. Police say 34-year-old Corey Douglas Lamont was found on surveillance video making at least one of those purchases and trying to make another days later at the same store. Police say it appears the cards were stolen out of a couple vehicles. Lamont was later found at his home with what police say were the items he bought. He is now facing 6 felony charges, all involving theft. New tonight, Duluth police say an officer-involved shooting happened in the city near 15th Avenue and East 3rd Street. Police say a man was taken to the hospital with unknown injuries. Still unclear how he was connected to that incident. The public is being asked to stay away from the area, but police say there is no active threat. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is investigating. North Dakota lawmakers are taking a break as they've been hitting now the halfway point of this legislative session. So far, they have advanced historic tax cuts. They've discussed everything from child care to farming to abortion to transgender bills.
We don't do this, women's athletics, girls' athletics will be destroyed.
When you take away the ability for teachers to use their proper pronouns, to use the proper restrooms, to make them feel valid, you're really just telling them that they're better off dead.
There is a bill in the works that would raise the speed limit to 80 on I-94 and 29 as well. You can get a full recap of the legislative session so far by clicking this story on the VNL News app. You can download that for free. Just search VNL News in the App Store tonight. This week, the Minnesota Senate narrowly approved a bill which would allow immigrants, regardless of immigration status, to obtain a driver's license in the state. That new law would end a ban instituted 20 years ago that barred those without legal immigration status from obtaining a Minnesota driver's license. The measure passed the House last month, so now it heads to Governor Walz's desk. He has said he will sign it into law. Fargo Park District's looking for your thoughts and opinions on the Yunker Farm Master Plan. A few of the concepts being considered are a multi-area dog park, enhanced community garden plots, a splash pad. You can look at the current ideas on this story again on valleynewslive.com. The survey will close March 10th. The 24-hour fundraising event known as Giving Hearts Day, held throughout North Dakota and Minnesota, raised more than $26.1 million this year. The Fargo Park District Foundation, West River Health Services Foundation, and Riverview Foundation were among the big winners, so to speak. Organizers say more than 90,000 total donations were made this year.
The dollar amount stayed about the same, but our participation numbers went up, which is really our main goal, is to see, more people coming to the day and finding a charity that they can connect to, whether it be through volunteering or donating.
The event has raised nearly $165 million since it started in 2008. Local credit union is ringing the alarm tonight, urging folks in the valley to be more aware and cautious while dating online. They've seen an uptick in romance scams in the metro.
It's sad because the victim truly believes they're in a relationship, so they don't think that that person would hurt them. These people are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and then they will never get any of those funds back.
In 2022, the FTC says nearly 70,000 people reported romance scams, with losses hitting a staggering $1.3 billion nationwide. Officials emphasize be wary of anyone you talk to online who you don't know in person. And officials say no matter how in love you think you are, never share your bank account information or deposit checks or buy gift cards for these online partners. You can find more tips on our website, valleynewslive.com. The University of Idaho plans to tear down a house where 4 college students were murdered back in November. U of I says the previous owner of the off-campus residence gave it to the school. The demolition is meant to promote healing, avoid sensationalizing the crime scene. No word when the demolition will happen. There are also plans for a memorial garden to honor the victims on campus. Alex Murdaugh was back on the stand in his own defense today for the second day in his double murder trial. He faced intense questioning, prosecutors challenging inconsistencies with his memory, but he did deny killing his wife and son, though admitted to lying to investigators about when he last saw them alive.
I stayed in the house.
Other than lying to them about going to the kennel, I was cooperative in every aspect of this investigation.
Very cooperative, except for maybe the most important fact of all, that you were at the murder scene with the victims just minutes before they died.
For 20 months, Murdaugh insisted he did not visit the kennels where his family was found, but after more than a year, state agents hacked his son's phone and found a video with Murdaugh's voice, again, they believe just minutes before the victims were shot. Still ahead on Valley News Live at 10, a new survey reveals the ugliest buildings in America. See what's number 1 and which North Dakota landmark made the list.
And for warm weather lovers, temperatures less than pretty today, peaking below 0 out to the west and right at 0 here in Fargo, Moorhead, and Fosston. Hour-by-hour details show a pretty nice warming trend this weekend, and we'll detail our next chance of accumulating snow right after.